This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details. Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
Question for you. How bad were the traffic snarls last night? You had, as you know, all the local TV stations reminded us, the Twins playing a home game last night against the Baltimore Orioles, I believe.
Yep.
And then Timberwolves Game 1, Western Conference semifinals. Were there some horror stories?
Thankfully, for me,
not so tough?
Because of the 8:30 tip, I was able to go a little bit later and avoid that Twins traffic. And then avoid the doors open traffic for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I flew right in. I got right into Ramp A about as quickly as I could. You had to park at the top. Mm-hmm. I was up on floor 7, I think, but I smartly followed the advice from Fox 9 and others that there was a Twins game going on, and I avoided that Twins traffic.
Good for you. Happy for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Really, really happy for you.
If you were at the ballpark last night, you had a fun time because Pablo Lopez struck out 11 Orioles. Correa and Buxton hit dongs. Buxton's, I think, was a 3-run dong. Correa's was an absolute moonshot. I ran into Lavelli Neal III in the Skyway, actually, as we were both leaving Target Center, and he was talking about the Twins game and said I was ready to rip Correa in a column, and then he hit a dong today, so I can't do that now. But the Twins won 9-1 yesterday, Dan. 9-1. So they've won 3 in a row. For Boudreaux, have not yet matched their season-high 4-game win streak, but get an opportunity to do that tonight. It's the Orioles again. 6:40 is the puck drop. Simeon Woods Richardson on the mound opposing Charlie Morton for Baltimore.
We are a wacky little club, right? Because we show signs that we're going off the edge of the cliff, and then we get a little bit of a surge going. And now things are looking a little bit better, and we have certainly... I think they consider this baseball weather, do they not? It's pretty nice weather.
I would think so.
No rain, I don't think, in the forecast forever. And basically 70s and 80s, right, for the rest of time.
Got 70, 82, 81, 85, 85, 87.
That's outstanding.
That's nice.
That is. Yeah, correct.
Kevin O'Connell, Dan, joined Rich Eisen's show.
Oh, that usually is trouble.
Today.
Yeah.
Well, KOC, when it comes to the quarterback position, I think is annoyed with answering questions about the reps, the development, and the status of who is the starting quarterback. J.J. McCarthy, Sam Howell, is it a competition? Here's a little bit of Eisen and a lot of KOC.
How's that looking? How's it manifesting itself? You're standing there.
Well, let's just, I know everybody is wildly concerned about these reps on air. Let me put you at peace, Rich.
Sure.
When he is taking snaps, he's taking plenty of snaps from Ryan Kelly, who happens to be a 10-year starting offensive center in this league. So that is, take that for what it's worth. I don't think Vikings fans or any wildly successful, nationally renowned broadcasters like yourself should be worried about the amount of reps JJ is going to get with the ones. We're going to have him ready to go. And by owning playing quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, that's footwork, that's rhythm, that's timing, that's running the huddle, that's running the show, that's cadence, that's identifying defensive structures that he's got to be responsible for getting us into the right plays. He's owning it, Rich.
So rest easy, everybody that wants to know how J.J. McCarthy's looking this time of year, the first week of May.
I honestly don't disagree with him. It's kind of akin to what we were talking about on the show here. We're in this weird stretch, I guess, because the quarterback from a year ago isn't here any longer. And, everybody's been sort of waiting for McCarthy's arrival. I've said last week why we obsess over, hey, he says he's ready to be the starter. He says, bring it on. Like we're supposed to go, well, that must mean he's ready. Means nothing. Means he's saying Probably what he feels like at this point he's obligated to say because he's going to get ripped if he doesn't. And secondly, in all seriousness, does anybody believe that whatever reps are going on right now are going to tell anything like a real story on where J.J. McCarthy is in the continuum and in his progression? I know that football's become a year-round deal. I know interest in the Vikings is year-round. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be capable of discriminating on what's worth being a story and what's worth spending time on and what isn't. And so I actually endorse some of KC's derisiveness there, going, what do you want me to say? And again, if KFC's answer to that was, I'll tell you what, Rich, I have never seen a quarterback look more zoned in early May in all the time I've been the quarterback whisperer. Would it mean anything anyway? I don't know. But you're into it too. You're obsessed with it.
No, I'm not actually.
Oh, you're not? Oh, good.
I'm not actually.
Yeah, I think we all have to take a breath on this thing, and it's playing the hits, and in this town, you can't go wrong talking about the Vikings, but at some point, you're just kind of making stuff up, or you're repeating stuff for the sake of naming J.J. McCarthy. And so some of that exasperation that I sensed to that soundbite you played, I kind of understand from the quarterback whisperer.
Steph Curry had 13 points in 13 minutes. He left game one last night at Target Center, did not return, and will not return for at least a week. Those are the reports from Shams Charania and others that Curry will miss at least 1 week of the playoffs after he was diagnosed with a grade 1 left hamstring strain. Warriors announced that status after he underwent an MRI today, saying he will be reevaluated in a week. So if you want to do the math, game 2 tomorrow night, game 3 Saturday, game 4 Monday, and game 5 a week from tonight right here at Target Center. So theoretically, 4 more games could be played before they even reevaluate Steph Curry. Maybe they reevaluate him next Wednesday and he's good to go, and he makes a Willis Reed-like appearance at Target Center with game 5. But the Wolves have absolutely caught an injury break.
Big time.
And now, as we've talked about the entire show, the pressure oddly completely shifts to them in a different way. It was already on them because they were considered the favorite. They have home court advantage. Golden State had to grind to get into the playoffs and then grind to beat Houston in 7 games. But now, after losing game 1 in this Curry injury news, if not now, when for your Minnesota Timberwolves to get back to the Western Conference Finals?
And to a certain extent, they already squandered the opportunity by not coming back properly in game 1, right? To say, well, no, we're not even going to give you 1 game to open the door to you feeling like, well, if we can just survive the next couple, we have a chance to still steal the series. Most of the hammy experts I speak to say that it's a week minimum and that he might it's more likely he doesn't play again in the series. I bet on nothing. I count on nothing.
Right.
It's Steph Curry. But I think it's likely that the first game that you're going to see even a chance for Curry to play would be game 5. And that's the one you said would be a week from today, right?
Yep, back at Target Center.
But more likely 6 or 7. So if you take care of business, you're going to have to worry about it. Another thing I want to get into in more detail tomorrow is that we've all, and including me, I think, gotten caught up in this. Well, we don't seem to do as well when more is expected of us. When the other team, when we're the team that's expected to win, or that people are lauding as a team that has a chance to go someplace. And we prefer to be, the little engine that could disrespect it a little bit. It's easier to play with an edge, etc. But can we all agree that if you're going to be what the Wolves are starting to become and really want to be, like relevant and big time for years, you have to be willing to accept that burden and handle it? Part of being big time is not running from, shirking the responsibility of being the favored team, right? The idea of, okay, the pressure's on me, we don't care. We don't care that the pressure's on us. We're still going to play the right way. We're still going to do the things we need to do. Because that's really what the best teams accept, is the burden, even though when it's expected. So this notion that, well, it's kind of unfair because we're just not as comfortable in that role. Too bad.
Right.
You have to get comfortable.
You can't always be an underdog.
You can't always be an underdog because on that basis, you're probably never going to go anywhere because in many series, the Wolves aren't going to be underdogs.
The back and forth between the coaches has begun here in the off day. Chris Finch saying they're sending in. They have sent in a bunch of plays of the Warriors fouling Rudy Gobert on rebounds. Finch, quote, "I've never seen a player of his magnitude and size be fouled like that." Steve Kerr was asked for his response. He said, "We're sending in plays too. They were bear hugging Steph. They should have been called for 6 fouls." I would say both coaches are right. It was a physical game. But it's interesting that's
I did see there were 2 or 3 plays that where I thought Rudy was getting kind of abused, but I thought there were fouls called on on a couple of them at least, where he was kind of getting pulled down from behind, that sort of thing. It's fine. Fight the battles. It always happens this time of year. But as long as we understand that clearly in game 1, I will say this, I'm almost embarrassed that we feel the need, even after that kind of performance, to go down this other road. I'd almost say, let's pick another game to do that, or let's do it more quietly. We can do it quietly to the league, but not make as big a production of it, because it's kind of unseemly on the basis of what the head coach himself told us yesterday, which was, my best player did not set any kind of leadership example. He did not set any kind of tone. I think he's concentrating too much on Ant, but the point is, he was talking about the players yesterday. So let's not pretend that was even in the top 5 reasons why the Wolves lost last night.
The Fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks. It is our national cash contest. Final keyword of the evening is grand. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword grand.
KFAN.
Page, enter for your chance to win a pair of tickets to the Minnesota Aurora home opener against Rochester FC. It's on May 22nd. KFAN.com, keyword contest to enter.
You know, one of the interesting developments in the playoffs thus far is the sort of ongoing referendum regarding the three-point shot itself, in that it can no longer be denied it's a key weapon for championship teams. The Celtics are the most recent example of exactly that. That doesn't mean you're obligated to love the style of play aesthetically. You can say it gets a little bit monotonous, it gets a little bit repetitive. But in both the cases of the Celtics and the Wolves, we've had stretches of dramatic three-point shooting ineptitude. And it has largely triggered the debate on what you do about it. And as I said, the quick comeback is, well, it worked for the Celtics a year ago just because they have a couple of cold shooting games, or even one in the case of Boston against the Knicks in game 1. It doesn't mean you throw out the baby with the bathwater. But, and of course the Wolves, despite a bad shooting three-point night against the Lakers, wrapped up that series. Their ineptitude continued yesterday. And you could again say, regular season, the Wolves were one of the best three-point shooting teams in the league. I still believe there's got to be a place where coaches, and you'd hope, internally speaking, players themselves could say, all right, for the next 8 minutes, we're going to something different. We're going to, if we have players who have the ability to break things down and get in the lane or get to the free throw line, get to the mid-range. We're not going to eliminate the mid-range shot just because the analytics people are bored with it because it's 2 points instead of 3. Because even though 3 is greater than 2, 2 is greater than 0 if the mid-range shot you're getting is going in the basket. And the three-pointers for a period of time, for whatever the reason, aren't. And I mentioned, I think, that the Knicks, I think it was the Celtics, the second quarter of their game against New York, they were something like 12 or 13 for 16 from two-point land in the second quarter, which would seem to indicate that even coaches who are wed to the three-pointer have to have the ability to adjust some, don't they? To just say, okay, we got 4 or 5 pet plays we like to run to get either mid-range shots or stuff going all the way to the basket.
Yeah.
That's going to be the goal. Now, that doesn't mean there still might be a three-pointer in there, but I refuse to concede the notion that because three-point shooting teams, that's what they do, and if they miss a bunch of shots, the antidote is to keep taking those shots. I still believe, depends on what else is going on. Depends on the feel of that game, the rhythms of that game, the circumstances of any 5 or 6 minute period. And I think for the league's sake, that's where we got to get to, where that's automatic, where there's not this obligation to continue to satisfy the analytics folks by putting up three-pointers, whether they're open shots or not, because that has tended to be the way that's tended to be our method of victory or our reason for success.
That's the hard part, and I got to think about this more. I got to watch more, I think, on how this happens, especially with Boston and now the Wolves, because the comeback now is, but yeah, and I just read it a minute ago. The Wolves on wide open threes, where there's not a player within 6 feet or more, basically, were 4 of 15 last night. You can now get the number for wide open threes and open threes, where open is there's a player within 6 feet, but he's not right there next to you. The comeback is always, these shots are so wide open. I also want to know, though, how many have you missed in a row? Like, that's where the analytics don't mess up or don't add up.
Yeah.
Like, have you been shooting well? Are you hot? Are you feeling good? How much has the defense moved? Can you actually drive it because you're so open and actually get into the lane? Maybe get fouled, as opposed to just, well, we're open because we threw it around a couple of times and now I'm wide open, so I'm just going to fling it. Because the comeback is certainly for the Celtics. I know Tim Legler just had a big meltdown on some podcast, basically dismissing the wide open statistic, saying it doesn't matter. At some point, you got to go do something else, even if you think you're wide open.
Yeah, and again, I even think if you want to go analytics on it, there has to be a formula by which there are times when a better 2-point shot, where you're, it's a 68% chance of success.
Yep.
Compared to 32% on the three, is going to work for you at a point in the game where the most absurd example of this is it was at the end of the Celtics-Knicks game in regulation, game 1. The Celtics have a chance to end the game in regulation, and even that, in a tie game, what was the emphasis? We're going to jack up a three. Why?
Right.
Especially there. Why? Because the math game doesn't matter if it's tied on the last play. Then you're no longer playing the
You don't need the volume.
Yep. Exactly. It's if we get a basket or if I make a free throw after getting fouled, not even 2 of them, we win the game, right? I don't understand why that becomes that complicated and that difficult for
because they've been trained this way now forever and ever and ever. It's not in their wheelhouse.
Yeah, maybe that's part of the deal. Close circuit to Lord Kilby. When is he going to be on? I think we're negotiating an appearance with him from the Target Center cage. We're on location for Game 2 tomorrow, correct? Is that the hope?
Yeah, I think that's the plan.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't checked when he's getting in, if he's getting in later today or tomorrow morning, but he is going
he's here. He was at the game with us last night.
Oh, that's right. What are you talking about?
He's in
the
town.
First game was yesterday.
Yeah.
I know what I'm thinking about. Yeah, this is obviously here. So, the plan is he'll stop by at some point, and we're working on a couple of other guests as well. For some reason, I feel like the series hasn't started. I watched the whole game last night. I forgot that was game 1, right?
Yeah, the Wolves are down 1-0.
Yeah, that's unfortunately the case. Sometimes wide open is harder. That's why you leave Mark Madsen open behind the line. Yeah, that, of course, was the 3-point. That really wasn't a strategy. That was a tanking strategy that had nothing to do with our best chance to win is to throw 3-pointers up there, even if they're not very good shooters. That was just, let's screw up with the game.
Sometimes wide open is more difficult. Yeah.
That's also true. Yeah, it can be true.
But that would go into our philosophy then of, doesn't mean you have to take them then. Go get an even better shot.
No. How many, let me look at how many we did. Well, I guess Randall did get to the line, but was that more in the second half? I think it was. Let me see the final free throw shooting.
It was about even.
It wasn't a huge gap,
No,
you don't think?
It was about even.
Between the two clubs?
We actually scored 2 more points at the line than them.
Did we really?
We were 15 of 17, but Randall was 10 of 10. I mean, Randall
it's all about Randall, you're right.
Essentially 2/3 of it.
They were 13 for 15. Butler leading the way, 4 for 6. Actually, Buddy Hield got to the line 5 times, too. He was 5 for 5. And Hield did not shoot that well overall. He was 7 for 19. He had a bad first quarter. And then second quarter is when he came to life, did it not? Was it not? And then he had a couple of good ones late.
Timely.
When we were, we had cut the lead, I believe, to 9. I think that's the closest we ever got, which is why I didn't really feel like we were on the verge, you know? I mean, 9 is still a long way against a team that has some people who
There was enough time to do
play.
it the first time we started to cut it, which was around 7-8 minutes left in the third or in the fourth. There was enough time, but then they couldn't get the stops. Then Butler had a couple of nice plays. Hield hit a 3.
Yes.
I think Peyton hit a 3 in the corner as well, off a little reversal. Like, the defense was just not there in those particular instances once they kind of got back into the game for that brief stretch.
Throwback to yesterday's show. No mojo. Get your ducks in a row. LMFAO, Wolves in 5.
Tweet that.
Well, they can still do that.
They can. The pressure's on them to do it.
According to Sam Mitchell, they're going to.
Just win tomorrow night.
That's the scary one.
I know.
It is.
It's all scary now.
Now it is all scary, yeah.
You know what they say? A series doesn't start until a home team wins. That's round 2
that's
in
right.
NBA playoffs right now.
Yeah, very, very true, Davey. Is Kessler in the house?
He's here.
He's already here? All right. If you have Kessler questions or comments, we'll continue. We'll include those in the mix. We got a lot to get to with him via not just the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line 64686, but his own list, which, yes, does include the aforementioned story regarding, I guess now it is law, that any place where men can walk around without their shirt on, legally speaking, women can now do the same thing.
Excuse me?
I think that's the law. He'll explain it to us, and he'll explain exactly why he's in favor of it. He'll say it's because he's about equality. And why should there be any discrimination in that regard? So we'll get to that. We'll get to some stuff within the great state of Minnesota. We got some national stuff. Maybe he's got some insight on who the next pope is going to be. And I do know he's old enough to remember Father Guido Sarducci.
I wish the American media would take a great look at the views of the people in Congress and find out, are they pro-America or anti-America?
Pat Kessler. Because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
I can't trust Obama. He's an Arab.
Pat Kessler.
Tear down this wall.
I did nothing wrong at the Minneapolis airport.
Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
Pat Kessler.
And now, to help Dan break down all the tough questions in politics, it's our own
Pat Kessler.
Political Wonk.
I feel like a supermodel, except like times 10.
It's Channel 4's
Pat Kessler.
with Dan Barrero on the Fan.
Did you know that Father Guido Sarducci is not only still alive, or the actor who played him, but appeared on Colbert last night?
I did not.
I did
not know that. Either one. I did not know he was still alive.
Now, you're old enough to remember the bit from Saturday Night Live.
I was like 40.
Yes,
so, yeah, I can absolutely remember him smoking a cigarette with the, he
Find the Pope and the pizza?
Yeah.
Remember that was the contest?
Oh, my God. Yeah, and it was considered sacrilegious.
It was at the time. There was
very
some controversy.
controversial. Very controversial.
Can popes, well, not popes, popes, cardinals, priests, can they smoke? Is it sacrilegious to smoke?
Have you seen Conclave?
I have not.
All the cardinals are coming out for smoke breaks.
Cigars?
Yeah, just cigarettes coming out. They got the heaters going. Yeah, so they can do it.
Interesting. Well, I find myself fascinated with those stories, even though I'm not particularly Catholic. I do like the rituals of it. I like the intrigue related to it.
Very cool.
And I like what everybody says who's written on it as journalists, the secrecy, shall we say, backbiting, the negotiations that go on.
And we don't really know, but yes.
We don't. Yeah.
Yeah, because have there been leaks? I think we tend to find out that these conclaves, which are very secret, very private. I watched today as the Cardinals put their hand on the pledge and on their heart, and they pledge not to reveal anything that happens in there. It's kind of like Vegas. What happens at the Vatican stays at the Vatican.
Yeah, that's what they say. Yeah.
And I was captivated by the movie Conclave because it actually explained a lot of this, a lot of what they do.
Yeah.
And so it was quite good. And also how human they all are. Some of them very ambitious who want to be the Pope, want the power of that. And they're human that, as I said, go out for smoke breaks and they fight among each other, according to this. Now, the author of this, some of our listeners can help me. I think his name is David Harris, last name Harris.
I think it's Robert Harris.
Robert Harris,
but Harris is the last name.
I heard a long interview on the BBC with him a couple of days ago talking about how the Vatican let him in to
the process?
Not to the process. Oh. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Can you imagine what it would be like? Let him in to walk through the conclave, showed him how everything worked. So it is pretty authentic. And as a Catholic myself, I mean, this is really fascinating. This has captivated the world. I think everybody is now on chimney watch, waiting for the white smoke or the black smoke. And for those just joining us who don't know, there's already been apparently one ballot. And
that was why there was black smoke today, which indicates no winner yet.
There is not a winner. But think about this, that this has captivated the world. And I heard somebody talking about this in Italy. Remember, the Pope died on the 21st of April. And then there's 9 days of mourning, and then they begin this conclave. In that time, we have had the NFL draft, which everybody it was crazy. The Kentucky Derby, the NBA playoffs are underway, all of these things. And yet one thing is more important than any of those, and the world is captivated by this. So I'm very anxious to find out who this is, who it's going to be.
It's, it is. And we named some of the, I guess, at least according to the odds makers, some of the leaders in the clubhouse or some of the individuals who maybe have the best chance. But a lot of times we've found dark horse candidates emerge out of nowhere that no one's been thinking about. And also they occasionally end up winning and shocking the papacy.
Everybody thought Shadur Sanders would go number one. And then he fell in the draft. I mean, this is the same kind of thing. You need 2/3 of the vote. I think you need 89 votes of the 170 Cardinals.
Is that what it is?
I think that's what it is. And you can't vote if you're over 80, which is, maybe we ought to apply that rule here in the United States.
Yeah, be careful.
I'm just saying.
In trouble, I'm telling you.
I'm just saying. Right. My personal favorite, I think it'd be awesome. The Philippines Cardinal, Luis Antonio Tagle.
You kind of like you
67 years old.
Oh, you like the age? A little younger?
No, I like. He is very, very much like Francis. More of a a progressive type guy. But here is what cinched it for me. They love karaoke in the Philippines. So very controversially, he sang the song "Imagine" on karaoke. Look it up and see the Pope, possible Pope, singing karaoke. Controversial because of the lyrics, "Imagine there's no heaven." Think about that.
Yeah.
Very controversial.
So you think that gives him a better chance?
No, I just,
he humanizes him a little bit.
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah, there's nothing, I guess, probably.
I'm fascinated with this whole thing. I think it's great.
There's no question about that. All right, let's get to, we got a lot of ground to cover today, including, will you explain to me, okay, so what exactly the new rules are as it pertains to apparel for women? And is this state of Minnesota? Is this Hennepin County? Is this Minneapolis? Where are we with this thing?
Did you even read the note that I sent to you today?
No. Well, I skimmed it.
And it said, don't ask me about this.
Yes, that's the clue. Whenever you say that, that means you are begging me to ask. Is that what it means? Not only begging me to ask, but to ask first.
Who would have thunk that? Yeah. Or does that mean, this makes me very uncomfortable, don't ask me?
And yet you included it, which means...
Yeah, it's very odd. It's like Princess Bride with the iocane. Look it up, kids. So yeah, the Minnesota Supreme Court has ruled that toplessness for women is not a lewd act.
I want to see the package.
Now think about this. Okay, we're going to have so many of these.
There'll be a lot of them. Yeah,
there's going to be. Think about this. So, for millennia. A woman exposing her breasts in public was considered
boy. Come on, Gaardsy, calm down. What a child.
It's Kessler's voice.
Oh, that's right. Forgot.
Oh, that was Flavor Flav at the Mayo Bowl.
At the Mayo Bowl.
Oh God, that was awesome.
All right, go ahead. I won't hit any more buttons.
That was so great. No, go ahead. So the Supreme Court has ruled that toplessness is not necessarily illegal.
The Minnesota Supreme Court.
The Minnesota Supreme Court. And in Minnesota, it has been a law for many, many years, taken from English common law in the United States, that a woman exposing her breasts in public is considered a lewd act, and it's a misdemeanor. And a woman in Rochester had been arrested for this. Now, I ask you, because I know you walk around. I know you walk around downtown sometimes.
I never walk around
on a beach. You
don't want to subject the population.
I did it in the control room.
That's no wonder Gaardsy was.
And I wasn't arrested.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So if men can walk around and just walk around without a shirt on, should women be able to? That to me is the question.
Okay,
seems fair.
Here's where the rubber meets the road on this. Let's
so you're against it.
Let's give a real life example of the real implications are of this, because you have it in the theoretical sphere where it sounds like, hey, come on. So here's where the rubber meets the road. This is from texter Brandt. I thought it was Brad. It's Brandt.
Hey, Brandt.
So a place like Wolf Lodge Family Water Park is now going to have to require men to wear shirts or risk have their family-friendly water park have topless women walking around the lodge, the pool area, the swimming
Grant,
areas.
I ask you, what is fair? Have you been to Europe? Have you walked the beach in France on the Mediterranean? I'm just asking. Well, I think that's a really good. It's a really good point, because the Supreme Court has ruled that there's nothing.
Have you sensationalized their ruling? Because is it possible their language is actually a little bit more nuanced than you are letting out here because it's more fun for the bit? Just asking.
Well, we should read, right? Shall we read from the ruling?
Maybe we should.
Why don't we do this?
Yeah, see what you can find it. And while you're reading, let me read you another one.
Yes.
Be careful what you wish for regarding topless in public. I lived for many years in Eugene, Oregon, and the only topless women you would ever see also looked like they had a whisk broom tucked into their armpits. I dig personal freedom, but not my thing. I'm just saying. That's just an opinion.
Well, I think he's objectifying a woman.
He might be
in a bad way.
You think so?
I mean, come on, man.
It's for the whisk broom armpits?
All right, here's what it is. Here is the law in Minnesota. Indecent exposure is an obscenity in Minnesota, according to the Star Tribune. Mm-hmm. I'm reading from the article.
Okay.
We have laws here preventing it, keep people from willfully exposing their body lewdly or showing their private parts or the private parts of another person. I mean, what is lewd,
Well, but the second sentence there is showing their private parts. That's where you need the distinction.
What is
Are
a private
breasts
part?
Considered a private part?
The Supreme Court wrote that because lust and indecency are ambiguous terms, lewd behavior in Minnesota's legal statutes refers to the conduct of a sexual nature only. So, I mean, come on.
God bless you. Good luck, man. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm just saying.
Well, good luck.
Well, good luck with what?
Good luck about the disruption that's going to take place. If this thing really plays out, here's what's going to have to happen. And this is where that's what Supreme Court's job is, to interpret the laws. So what's going to happen, I'm guessing, is there's going to be an attempt to rewrite the wording on this to try to be a little bit more precise
the laws
in that regard. Look, like you said, in Europe, topless beaches are much more common than they are here. So we can have the larger discussion about whether the history, the tradition we have about this, about the boob being that big of a deal, is something we should reconsider. But we would be foolish, I think you would agree on this, to pretend that there aren't some real world ramifications, given that's the culture that we've all been brought up in.
I will confess, in Europe, when I first saw this, I was shocked. But I was more shocked by the 300-pound males wearing wearing thong bathing attire. It's like, hey,
you should have found that liberating.
Yeah,
you should have.
In my case,
in anybody's case, because in all honesty, what it seemed always to say to me was, we don't care that in the magazines everybody's got a perfect body. We don't care. My body's my body. It's hot out. I like being in a brief bathing suit, so deal with it, even if I'm not in the best shape.
Well, let me read.
Isn't that healthier?
Well, yeah. Let's read further from the Minnesota Supreme Court opinion.
Okay.
Here's a punchy. Quote, interpreting private parts to include female and not male breasts would lead to the continued stigmatization of female breasts as inherently sexual and reinforce the sexual objectification of women. Okay, Dan? Okay?
It's a beautiful world when you're a judge and you don't have to live the real world consequences of some of your decisions.
Well,
it's a beautiful thing.
If a woman exposes her breasts while dancing, is she engaged in a conduct of sexual nature, the court asked? I mean, come on.
Well, no, but you said originally what the court said, it's one of two things. It said the showing of parts of the body.
Sure.
So even the language in the law they're interpreting had two components of it, did it not?
It does. It does. So is it a lewd act? And if it is, then you're going to be charged with a misdemeanor. Now, unfortunately, I think they were questioning the mental state of the person who's carrying this case, but I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm just saying fair is fair. That's all I'm going to say.
And what are the real world, ruling like this means what? The ruling itself means what?
We don't know.
The next person this summer who's, let's say, at running around
at Hidden Beach on the Mississippi.
Forget Hidden Beach. I mean, Lake Nokomis.
Lake Calhoun.
Lake Nokomis. They're walking around Lake Nokomis, and she's got no shirt on.
Yeah.
And
so what are you going to
do? Park police say, "Hold on, ma'am. There's people. This is causing a scene. Blah blah blah." By law, she can say, "You can." The court has ruled, I cannot be arrested, or if you do arrest me, the charges are going to have to be dismissed.
Then it's going to be she'll be arrested for a misdemeanor, and then it will be covered by the media, and then there are going to be 100 women, protesting around B'day Makaska. I mean that's what's going to happen. So what is the real world here? The real world thing is that I think that this is a case by case basis, but I strongly believe the Minnesota legislature is going to get involved, and they're going to have to rewrite the laws.
By the way,
and figure it out.
The law that they're interpreting, does it involve adults? Is there a distinction? Is there an age distinction?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I don't know the answer. I think that's an
important question for people to say, well, we're going to have 16-year-olds who now feel free to walk around. Now, practically speaking,
I don't. That's a really
practically
good
speaking.
Question.
Is everybody going to be walking around topless now? I think we can agree. No, that's silly. That's not likely to take place. But I think we need to find some. The devil, as they always say in this business, are in the details. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, where this and I see that this is dividing along political lines as well. Nationally now, this is
Why? I don't even think it's.
This is Waltz's Minnesota.
Oh, I see.
This is woke Minnesota, man.
They want everybody to have their boobs hanging out, walk around, and smoking pot just up and down the street. Well, we're not going to smoke. We're not going to sell it. That was one of the questions here. Is where we are in the pot.
And we're not going to do anything about all this. Right. We're just going to allow undocumented immigrants. This will be a sanctuary. I mean, this is Waltz's Minnesota.
Okay.
I mean, we're already hearing that. And this is just feeding into that whole thing. But yeah, it's provocative for sure.
Okay.
They're gonna rewrite the laws. That's what's gonna happen.
Well, maybe not.
I think you got to get involved. Maybe they'll say,
let's start the revolution.
Seriously, there are real world.
Well, now you're talking about out of both sides of your mouth.
No, I'm just telling you.
That's what I was saying earlier, and you mocked me.
I did. I still do. But
well, how do you mock me if you're saying now there's real world realities?
When I heard Brandt. Talk about Brandt.
When
you think about this, if you're at the Dells, think about it.
Yeah,
and then are the parents like putting their hands over their kids?
That's it. I mean, the guy who asked the question about at the water park. Yeah, it's a legitimate question.
It's absolutely legitimate.
It's again, if we want to have the big talk, like dealing with children, what they're taught in schools about this whole issue. What was that soundbite?
Left breast.
I don't remember. What's that one from?
Is that me?
When did he say that?
I say
Who knows when he says any of these things?
That's true.
I mean, honest to God.
Then let's have it, but we're going to have it. That's going to be a fairly deep, abiding deal and fundamental deal.
It's a tight-fitting leotard type thing.
I'd love to hear from some women on this issue. Hit the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. The number is 646-86. That's 6.
Tighty whities on.
Or 6.
Well, see, you got to keep the tighty whities on.
What about somebody's saying? What about breastfeeding? Breastfeeding doesn't apply to this. Breastfeeding is legal and fine.
It's a great question because there were a lot of people.
Yeah, but
police were doing this not that long ago. 20 years ago, people were ticketing women.
Nobody in Minnesota is ticketing women for breastfeeding in 2025. I'm just telling you, it's not happening.
I'm just saying.
And we know why because it shouldn't happen.
Absolutely, it shouldn't happen. Now we have special feeding stations, all that stuff.
I mean, that's
and we've grown up a little bit on this, but I'm old enough to remember where the police got involved.
Yeah.
So,
How about in all seriousness, I think the answer is we rewrite the laws to say neither men nor women can take their shirt off in public places.
That's very restrictive.
It is, but I'd rather have that, frankly.
Than seeing women in public? Yeah.
Well, and men.
Yeah.
Let's have them. Let's go.
You're sick of all of it.
Yes, let's cover up. Gaardsy, where are you on that?
I'm fine if we all just cover up.
Cover up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
You sound disappointed, Kessler. I have no idea.
I'm very disappointed.
Have you been to Fremont Street in Vegas? What's in Fremont Street in Vegas? Gaardsy, do you know what that means?
Is that the old Vegas?
That's old Vegas.
Is that old Vegas?
Okay.
And what happens?
I'm guessing not a lot of shirts being worn.
By women or men?
Probably both. I have never been to that part of Vegas. I'm
maybe
a strip guy.
Maybe in other states this is allowed. What do we know?
Let me get to a couple.
I'm just trying to be serious here about a Minnesota Supreme Court legal opinion.
You're really
Get
not.
Spanked?
What would this? Let me give you another example. What the hell would the state fair be like?
Boy.
Awesome.
Coming up next, former Supreme Court Justice Alan Page here at Carousel Park.
I mean, what?
We wouldn't have to sell shirts anymore.
Yeah, Page would be awesome.
This is a woman texting.
Okay,
she's not giving her name. 612. I can guarantee you the male species is simply not equipped and prepared for women to be walking around topless. It's a train wreck.
Facts.
In the making.
Bingo. I think that's right on. I think that's absolutely true because men have been conditioned to objectify women and women's bodies. So absolutely. I mean, so she's absolutely right. Thank you.
Well, now, so in effect, you're only going to agree with what I've been saying all along when you hear it from a woman.
Right, because why should I listen to you? What, you don't have it. What standing do you have?
None, actually.
Exactly.
This is a callback, Gaardsy. left boob, right boob, what a rube, Wolves in 5. Could this
that's good.
could this law increase attendance at Twins games? Twins have a real attendance problem this year. If they if they made an announcement
night
to say every night's topless night, come on in, smoke them if you got them. Imagine the crowd sizes
instead of
we would get.
T-shirt night. No T-shirt night.
We don't have to mess with wet T-shirt night.
What did they used to give away? Did they used to give away to women? Weren't they the tops that they gave away to women back in the 70s?
Bikini tops, you mean?
Yeah, something
I don't
like
know.
that. Yeah,
I
they did. They did something. Yeah. You know, whatever you call it. I don't know what you call it.
We would no longer probably have an attendance problem at Target Field.
You know, I mean,
what about Delta Airlines kicking women off the plane for having revealing outfits? Does that happen? Is that a story I've missed? That's Peter
That's
from
a really good question.
Stillwater. Is that true? Is that
I don't know. I mean, we should go on the Google on that one. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so women are treated differently than men. That's one example. If that's true, and let's check it out. But women dressing provocatively, what would a man dressing provocatively look like? And would the male be ejected from the Delta airline? I mean, come on.
It's too controversial a question for us to do.
I mean, it's been a great run.
My mind's going to blow.
I know. I mean, I've had a great run.
Well,
white males.
You've had a decent run. Yeah. I wouldn't say it was been a great run.
I'm just saying 2,000 years. I mean, the males have dominated.
Let's take a break. We'll come back.
Now it's time.
We'll get to a couple. So the true sign of equality will be when women can shed their shirts. Okay. All right. We'll take that one.
Carboni's Pizzeria wants to fuel your playoff party. You can visit one of their 30-plus locations to enjoy delicious pizza. Get ready for the playoff run. Find your nearest Carboni's today at carbonispizza.com.
Don't get your undies in a bunch. I talk a lot about undies, don't I? Get spanked. Butt crack. I told myself I wouldn't cry. I don't think I said all this stuff.
It also helps him pick up women.
One million males. Shirtless males. The dude is really handsome.
All right, Kessler is back with us. I'll leave it to you. You got like about 15 things on the list. Where would you like to go in our remaining minutes? Where would you like to go next?
Well, I'm going to have to take a look at this.
Your extensive...
I know, it's just,
list of...
I was up all night. I couldn't sleep after the Wolves.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I mean, after the Wolves, I mean, why bother? Nothing matters.
First of all, you're not... You barely jumped on the Wolves bandwagon a year ago, and then you pretended that you've been in it from the beginning.
Why do you do this to me?
Am I wrong?
You're wrong.
Sort of, kind of wrong. Oh, here's what I have to tell you. I ran into an old pal of yours last night.
Oh Lord!
And in fact, I didn't recognize him. He walks up to me at the checkout lane, and he just starts talking, and I'm going, who the hell is this clown?
And you don't do that to Dan Barrero in the checkout lane.
You know who it was?
I have no idea.
Don Shelby.
Oh my God! Did he kiss you?
He not this time. He has before, and so I hope that doesn't mean there's bad blood. But the really sad part was he was wearing a CBS News ball cap, which should have been a bit of a clue to me. But I'm like, what? You know what threw me off? he started talking before he established any kind of contact with me, almost like he was carrying on a conversation with me.
I'm Don Shelby.
Pretty much.
I'm Don Shelby.
And then we had a very nice discussion.
And he has long, flowing hair,
not
beautiful
as long
white
as it
hair.
was.
But
he's got nice hair, but it's not as, I think he's cut it a little bit.
He's just the best.
He looked great.
Shelby is great.
He's told me he's on like 87 boards now.
Mm-hmm.
He's been doing that. It's never stopping.
He's raised millions of dollars for charity. So I will just ask you this one question.
Yes.
Do you know where he has a tattoo that is not immediately visible to the public? I'm just going to say. And
is his tattoo named Carlos?
In the nether region?
Remember that bit?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he's on David Letterman.
Yes, when Letterman came to town, right?
Yeah, that's right. And was that a top 10 list?
It was a soundbite. I don't remember.
I think it was a top 10 list with David Letterman. I think so. And
you might have been. It might have been. Yeah.
And like the one thing that the Minnesota Twins might say, I have a gopher in my pocket.
In my pants.
I have a gopher in my pants.
And his name is Carlos. That's it. That was the line. It's a tremendous line. Yeah.
Oh, Shelby's the best.
Yeah, he's outstanding.
Shelby's the best. All right, so I'm going to tell you where it is. Where the secret...
Where the gopher is or where the tattoo is?
I'm going to tell you where the tattoo is. And there might be a Carlos tattoo down there.
Is it invasive?
It depends. If shirt on, shirt off. I'm just telling you. Let's close the loop on this. Don Shelby has a compass, a very large compass, larger than a dinner plate, tattooed on his back.
On his back, you say?
On his back. And if you ask him, so all our listeners, if you see Don Shelby.
So if you see him shirtless, you'll see it on his back.
You can ask him.
Or you can ask him.
And, for a long time, I would ask him, and he'd just pull his shirt off. Yeah, take a look. So there you go.
There it is. That explains it.
Shelby's the best.
Yeah, there's no question about that. All right, where do you want to go next here? We got about 10 minutes left. Well, there's a little less than that. Actually.
Yeah, there's just so much.
We got derailed. Who knew we would get derailed on the topless?
I asked you not to bring this up.
You did ask me,
and I'm going to guess that people are still
they're flummoxed by the whole thing. Yeah, they're amazed by all of it.
Well, we could the Hennepin County attorney
Moriarty,
is in hot water again publicly and in the media, I should say. Because she is under investigation by Donald Trump's Department of Justice for directing Hennepin County prosecutors, directing that race be considered.
And age.
And age in charging and sentencing. And she's being investigated for this by the Department of Justice because they say it is unconstitutional. And I cannot emphasize enough. I mean, she's been a lightning rod for the 3 years that she's been in office. And I cannot emphasize enough that she ran on this racial equity, diversity, figuring out how to have a justice system that served people of color and minorities fairly. Different from what we have right now. I cannot emphasize enough that that's what she ran on. She won by a large amount. She won handily. And now people are all upset about it.
Well,
so I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, you're leaving out a pretty significant part of this.
What am I leaving out, Dan Barrero?
You're leaving out whether it's legal, whether there are some legal experts, you could even say professors. Some say they don't believe there's a disagreement on it, that it may not pass legal muster. You can run on whatever you'd like. So no one perhaps should be surprised that she's gone down this road. You call her a lightning rod. I think she's been a disaster for a number of reasons that have nothing to do with this particular issue. The question is whether, and it may pass legal muster. The question is whether the distinctions she is making are legal. I'm not here to carry water for whatever the DOJ investigation is going to be. But the first story I saw on it was Lou Raguse. And what Raguse had, and we reported, I thought quite well, was that part of it. The question is whether it's the devil again is in the details. It sounds good to say we want to consider these things, but how are you going to consider them? What kinds of distinctions are you going to carve out? And are there legal hurdles to you doing it and them being fair to all individuals involved. That, I think, is all fair. Whether the DOJ is going to do anything fair with it or not, I don't know.
Well, let's talk about what this policy is. And she is instructing prosecutors in charging and making recommendations for sentencing to consider racial identity. She says that is constitutional, and she says it's one way to address what I think many people might agree is racial disparities and discrimination in our justice system. And what she said in this, and please understand, I'm not endorsing this or criticizing it. What she says is that racial disparities, this is what she says in the policy that she just put out, racial disparities harm our communities, lead to distrust, and have a negative impact on public safety. Absolutely true. Prosecutors, she says, should be identifying and addressing racial disparities at certain decision points. Now,
yeah, but again,
that's all in.
That's word salad to me.
Of 2020. May of 2020.
Well, again, they
George
may have
Floyd.
been, but that doesn't mean we have to agree with it if there's a legal implication to it, any more than you have to agree with necessarily what certain Republican policies are in place. You say, but wait a minute, there may be legal reasons that stand in the way of implementing those laws, or you may think there's a fairness issue involved in them. So the notion that because she ran on it means that we can't comment on it or we can't react to it. My problem with the policy, again, is you read it. I've read it 5 times.
Exactly. It's vague.
And I go,
what does it mean?
What does it mean
exactly.
in each case
exactly
individually? Because it sounds good. In fact, I would even argue that if I were on Moriarty's side, in theory, regarding the issues in question regarding equity issues, Mary, at the end of the day, what does this get us? Where exactly? Give me some examples of where this is actually going to be implemented in a concrete way, involved in individual cases. And by the way, does it come at the expense of carving out different punishments for people on the basis of the race, rather than not just their race and age, as opposed to what their actions were and what is commensurate with those actions?
That has always bothered me, where someone is sentenced because they had a tough childhood and they were poor, and they were sentenced in an easier way. They got a lighter sentence. Just because you're poor doesn't mean you're a criminal. And you don't go into this.
Right, correct.
But this is, I will absolutely agree. This seems pretty vague. And if you are going to make a decision on whether somebody gets 10 years or 5 years, consider this as part of a formula to address racial bias in the justice system. That is what she is attempting to do. Now, a lot of people voted for your guy, Donald Trump. He ran for office, and he said he was going to deport illegal immigrants, in his words, people who are in the country.
Yeah, but that doesn't give him a right to do it illegally. That's my point again.
That's the point I'm going to make.
Yeah, okay.
That's the point I'm going to make. So people say, yeah, he campaigned on this. He can do it. Well, you got to do it in a way that's constitutional. Did people vote for him to round up people indiscriminately and send them out of the country to a foreign prison without a trial or even seeing a judge? You can say that about Trump.
Right.
He was elected and people voted for it. Come back to Hennepin County. People voted for her to address racial disparities. But is this legal, what she's doing?
Yeah,
that's a really important question.
What else? Do you have anything nationally for me or internationally before we go?
There is so much going on here.
Well, make it quick because you got about 3 minutes.
Well,
Can you boil it into a nutshell?
Well, there's so much stuff that's happened, Dan. I want Alcatraz to become the new symbol of American prisons.
We all do.
I've never bought $30, but now we're not allowed to buy $30.
Yeah, that sounds communist slash socialist to me.
This is Maoist. This is Lenin and Trotsky. We are going to tell you what you can buy. But I just really need to ask you this question. You have a daughter. I have a daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Did she ever have $30? Did you buy $30 for Christmas?
I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
No. Of course not. And now, now we're not allowed to have 250 pencils. We're only allowed to have 5.
5 pencils, yeah.
Have you ever had a 5-year-old?
That I don't understand.
None
that at
of
all.
this.
Yeah, none of it makes sense to me.
None of this. So, have you ever had a 5-year-old? 250 pencils is not enough. That's all I'm going to say. You got to have more.
You're probably right about that. I'm not much of a pencil guy. I'm more of a pen guy.
So, but I'm talking about kids.
Oh, kids. Yeah, you want pencils for kids.
Yeah,
Are you going back to the Twins game? Was it 6:40 again tonight, Gaardsy? You going to the Twins tonight? Are you kind of... They're hot.
Yeah, I know. I watched as much as I could up to the Timberwolves game last night, and they were on fire.
Were you frustrated by the Wolves?
I was, on the one hand, I was extremely frustrated. On the other hand, I kept thinking they were going to come back to the very end.
Yeah.
And next thing I know, it's 11:30 at night, and they've lost by whatever it was, 9-10 points. But I kept thinking they were coming back. I could not understand what I was seeing with my own eyes.
Right.
That Ant was just not part of the game, that they're throwing bricks again. It was very, very frustrating, but I have faith.
461 Minnesota residents are enjoying the Late Show with David Letterman tonight in New York. Don?
Here it is.
Amelia, I have a gopher in my pants. His name is Carlos.
There it is. He found it.
That is fan-frickin-tastic.
Where did they do the show from? Was it the State Theater?
They did it in New York. He flew a bunch of Minnesotans out.
Oh, okay. So it never was actually here.
And what I remember, it was a big deal at CCO in the day.
Yeah, of course it was.
They had...
Yeah, it was massive. Why wouldn't it be, to be
seriously,
honest?
why wouldn't it be?
True.
And they brought out a carved... did they bring out Princess Kay's head carved in butter?
They might have. Yes, that's what they gave him. No, they made a butter statue of him.
Of David Letterman?
Yes.
Were they mocking us the whole time? Was it like Fargo?
He's from Indiana.
Were they mocking us?
Probably.
Yeah. Making fun of us?
Probably.
We were okay with that, though? You guys loved it because, we're getting all the pub. Channel 4, we're important.
Well,
CCO.
David Letterman.
Yeah, that's true. It's hard to argue
What's bigger
with that.
than David Letterman?
Nobody.
So it was great.
Carlos. It'll be a long time before he lives that down.
And he still hasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I think Carlos might have been with him yesterday, in fact.
That is a... Why, did you check?
I'm not sure.
Did you?
Calm down. Calm down.
What was in his pocket?
We got to go. Kessler, it's over. We're coming back to wrap up the show now.
Man.
Bounce into Parlay. It's our Timberwolves Game 2 watch party, 7:30 tomorrow. You can join Marnie Gellner for a night of epic prize giveaways, including Wolves playoff tickets. Pair the playoff action with music by DJ AO, free food and drink specials. Everyone in attendance will receive a free Timberwolves playoff rally towel. Full details at TICasino.com. Show wrap presented by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washers. Since 1975.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
Thank you to Pat Kessler, who joined us, basically from 5:30 on or so. It got to be very controversial, largely having to do with the Minnesota Supreme Court ruling, which he could not quite get enough of. Tomorrow, we'll be broadcasting from the cage before the Wolves Game 2. Target Center Skyway, if you'd like to come to say hello or wave. Johnny Athletic will stop by as usual. Craig Kilborn will stop by, and maybe another guest. We're still working on that. That'll be part of the equation tomorrow as the Wolves prepare. The Wolves, I think it's fair to say, don't want to be in the Cleveland situation.
No.
Where they hit the road down 2-0. Whether Steph Curry is playing or not, that's not a position you want to get into going to San Francisco. Correct? We'll all agree on that?
Let's get on the board.
Yeah, just get on the board.
1-1.
And then let's not celebrate too much. Let's just get on the board. And then just say we're back to even. And what you're looking for tomorrow is just signs that you've righted the ship, correct? That's what we're looking for. You have answers for their zone, their matchup zone. You've found some other ways to score. You've found other ways to just sort of remember what you were or have been through much of the last quarter of the season and even into the regular season. But I think we've already seen enough of Golden State to figure out that the challenge is different than with the Lakers. It shouldn't be a great challenge without Steph for entire games, frankly. But it's that whole deal of they kind of know how to play, it appears.
They do, and they know how to win in the playoffs.
And they know how to win in the playoffs. So the idea is to steady the ship tomorrow. And if you can, put an exclamation point on it, even better, right? But whatever, you have to make sure that you win. The plan tonight is fan on demand. and then the Dan Patrick show. And, well, I mean, like I said, we wish there was also some second-round hockey. Stanley Cup playoffs.
There is. We're just not involved.
But we're not involved. It's ongoing. But unfortunately, as we said before, we are not a part of it. It'd be the first time at the Cage since when? Long time, months ago, right?
Yeah, we went in January.
Was that when it was?
Yeah, okay. January or February.
All right. So we are looking forward to that. Who knows who else might stop by? Might be a cavalcade of stars downtown Minneapolis. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and we will talk to you tomorrow at 3.